Hello everyone, in this short series I'm going to be going through how to create a Frogger replica in p5.js and then hopefully applying an AI to try to play the game and reach the end completely. So it's going to be a slightly modified version of Frogger. Instead of having a fixed amount of lanes, which is like 5 or 6, it's going to actually have an infinite amount of lanes, and that'll really help be able to show whether or not the AI is really not just memorizing the game board. So we'll start with the first half of the series is going to be just producing the game and making it fully in p5.js playable to a human. And the second half will be using neuroevolution to play the game completely from start to finish, although there is no finish. So it'll be just trying to reach as far as it can, and that'll be how we're going to judge our creatures. But more on that later. For now, we're going to start with just developing the application using just plain old JavaScript with processing p5.js library. So this is what the game is going to be approximately like. We're going to have lanes going from left to right here, and then we're going to have a frog that's going to start in the start area, and it'll have 3 places it can move. It can either move up, we'll give it the option to move right, and we'll give it the option to move back down 1 lane. It could also move to the left if it wanted to. Here it doesn't have any space to, but it could if it did have the space. Now, we could make it a tile-based system where we have each car taking up 1 tile only, and then in the next frame it moves to the next tile. But I think I kind of like it more being a more continuous system where it's less discrete, where we have the car literally being incremented by about 1 pixel each frame, for example, customizable, and the car will keep moving like that. Now, the frog will have also a step size, so it'll be able to jump a certain amount in each frame, and that'll be its speed as well. Up and down, we should let it move like just one lane, but we can think about all the details in a second. So we'll just open up Visual Studio Code right now, and we'll initialize a new repository, and we'll get started. As with all projects, we start and initialize a Git repository. So we'll go and we'll make Git init. We'll make, let's call it Frogger tutorial. All right, and then we're going to cd into that. Now, see, I already have, here we go. So Frogger tutorial, and then we're going to get init, and we're going to get add dot. There's nothing inside it, so that shouldn't really do anything. And there we go. Now let's save this thing that we have, this image that we have, into there. So let's just save as. All right, so we're just going to save this image that we have here in our Frogger tutorial. We'll create a new file, and we'll just call it like drawings, just so we can store all of my little brainstorms that we have. We'll call it drawings, and we'll just call this initial plan. All right, now that's just going to be the x1++. I'm not saving it as a PNG or whatever. Who really cares? So now that we have this started, we will, I guess, get started programming. So we'll go and we'll just say code dot, which just opens up Visual Studio Code in the current repository. Here we go. All right, so here's in our Frogger, now we have drawings, and we have nothing else inside the file, because that's what the file actually is initialized to. We'll get started with just making a few new folders. So we start with source, all right, and we'll make a new one. We'll make this one called lib. So we have source, which is just going to have the code that we write, and libraries, which is going to have the code that other people have written that we're going to use in our application. And then drawings is just where I'm going to throw all the things that I draw, just so I can come back to them later. All right, so I just copied into our lib folder. I called it p5.min.js. Now, inside this folder is, inside this file is just the p5 library, and it's a minify. That's what the min means, to make it a very small size, like only 300 kilobytes. So I'll leave a download link to this in the description below, so you can follow along exactly how it is. So you get this file, and you keep it inside your lib folder. And then let's go back to Visual Studio. So now we have, inside libraries, we have p5.min.js. Now, since this is a JavaScript project, we're going to start by creating a index.html. Okay, now this is just going to be basically the thing that will display on our web page that's going to call all the other files that we write eventually. Now, I have a Visual Studio extension called emit, so I can just press exclamation mark and paste this here, or you could just copy and paste. It's just some basic HTML doc type settings. We're going to call this Frogger. There we go. And with that, now technically, we have a program. So we'll get started right now by just putting this library file into our index.html. So inside, it doesn't really matter. We'll put it inside the head for now. And we'll go and we'll just go script. We'll add a script with the source, and the source is going to be .. because we're going to go back, we're going to go to the library, so we're going to go p5.min.js. So now all we have is an empty HTML file that just calls p5.min.js and loads it up into the head of that file. So now if we go into our computer and we actually open up this index.html, we should see right now an empty file that just says Frogger at the top. Now if we look up and we open up the developer tools, we should see we have a console that we can console.log. We can type some JavaScript into here, and we have this white little page here that we can start adding stuff to. But now that we've set up the environment, that's enough for this episode. We will continue in the next one when we start to try to put this game together.